If you or someone you know has diabetes, you may have built up an extra supply of test strips and lancets. That's where we come in. We'll buy the supplies that you don't need and resell them to those in need to prevent waste. Help us make diabetes management more affordable. Visit us at teststripswithaz.com.
All right, joining me right now is going to take on Tony Gravely next week on Dana White's Contender Series. We have Ray Rodriguez joining the show. The judge himself is presiding. How are you, Ray?
Oh, fantastic, man. Just finished coaching a class, dude, and ready to get a little meal in me and get ready for my next training session tonight.
Excellent. So we're 1 week away from this one in Las Vegas. How has this camp been? How are you feeling?
Oh, it's phenomenal, man. Camp has gone amazing. I've had the usual ups and downs and peaks and valleys, and I'm peaking right at the perfect time, man. My weight's right where it needs to be. It's probably going to be one of the easiest cuts I've ever done. I've been able to lay off the tacos and pizza and barbecue, man, for a long time. So everything's good, man. Everything's running perfectly, and I'm ready to get that contract on August 13th.
This is one of those matchups that when it was booked, it got me really excited because it's almost like a throwback fight to the first season of the Contender Series in a way, because that season we saw a fair amount of fighters competing who have been around the game for a while, guys who were longtime champions in their regional promotions, guys with 18 to 20 or more fights under their belts. This season, for the most part, we've seen a lot of guys and gals with records of 4-0, 5-0, 6-0, and both you and Tony have a ton of experience in this game. So I don't know if you're a weekly Contender Series watcher with everything you got going on, but have you noticed that more this season there's a lot more fighters with a lot less experience competing this time around?
Man, definitely. So whenever they first started announcing these matchups, I noticed that some of these guys were like 4-0, 5-0, 5-1. And there was like a trend of the fighters that they were signing to the Contender Series that they were all there, So as that was going on, or like as that was progressing, I started thinking to myself, man, they're not signing guys with a lot of fights like on season one, So whenever I got that call, I was surprised. Like I wasn't necessarily expecting to be in the Contender Series, especially because I was noticing that trend. But yeah, man, I'm glad I got the opportunity. I think me and him, if I'm not mistaken, we definitely have to be the matchup with like the most amount of fights on our record. I haven't done too many statistics, but I'm pretty sure we're up there.
You're up there. I think the other fight that I remember where there was a lot of fights was the Holloway-Bassett fight from the very first episode, where two guys with a ton of experience. So this is one of those kinds of fights. And with that experience that both of you have, this may be a different scenario in terms of opponent knowledge. Like a lot of people on the show who I've been talking to heading in their fights, because they're 4-0 and 5-0 and 6-0, they have no idea who their opponents are. Never heard of them in their lives until the contracts are sent. They saw the name. They're like, yeah, of course. Is Tony a guy that you've been familiar with since you've been in the game for a while?
Not necessarily, man. So we fight definitely on two different circuits. I fight more on the Texas, Oklahoma, Louisiana circuit, and I believe he's more East Coast.
Yeah.
So I didn't really know anything about him until this fight got announced. So my manager, Jason House, calls me. He's like, hey, do you want to fight Tony Gravely on August 13th? And I was like, oh, is that even a question? Like I don't care who it is, man. Like I'm ready for it. And after they announced the fight, I started doing my homework, and I've done some research, and I know what he's going to bring to the table. We know he's a good wrestler, and he has an overhand right or whatever. But the last two guys I fought have been good wrestlers with overhand rights. So we're ready for it, man. Like I said, he's a stud. You can't take that away from him. And I've prepared the things I need to in order to get the finish on August 13th.
Yeah, I didn't know if through your rise in your region, his rise in his region, you maybe at least have heard the name, seeing that there's a guy on the East Coast that's making moves. I mean, you may not have watched his fights or anything, but I didn't know if you had at least heard the name before.
I've seen him on the rankings. Like I've seen him on a couple different rankings. Like I've always seen his name around the top, So I have seen the name, but as far as video on the dude, I had never seen anything, But yeah, I had heard his name, or I had seen it on rankings. Just never did too much research on the guy.
Right, but now you're researching. But I want to go back a little ways because you fought Chris Gutierrez back in October, who is in the UFC now. He's actually fighting this Saturday in Uruguay. And that was a fight that didn't go your way. He was able to get the win. He snapped a long winning streak. I believe it was 8 fights that you had heading into that one. But you've been able to bounce back. You talk about fighting guys who are wrestlers and have overhead rights. You finished both of those fights to set you up for this opportunity. But What did you take away from that fight with Gutierrez at LFA 52?
There was a lot of mistakes on my end. I think I was so focused on a stand-up war that I didn't neglect a lot of my ground. Like, I still train ground every single day, but the things that I need to focus on my game, which is if I'm on my back, standing up, right? I kind of neglected it, a lot of my rounds weren't me getting up off my back. A lot of my rounds were like, get ready for a good striker, and I was sparring with amazing kickboxers, just not so much on the cage getting up, So, and it showed. I made one mistake, and in this game, especially at this level, if you make a simple mistake, man, it could be to your or it could be the end of you, or the reason you lose the fight. And that happened, So, but I feel like maybe it was a blessing in disguise. As you said, I was on an 8-fight win streak. I don't want to say I was getting content. I still train my butt off, but it shows me that I still have holes in my game, which I always will, and I have to continue plugging those holes in order to be in the UFC and eventually a UFC champion.
I am a New England guy, so I've watched Tony pretty closely over the last few years, especially with his run in CES. And like yourself, he's been in there with some very talented fighters, guys with names that a lot of other people, even the casual fans, will probably recognize. So through this process of getting ready for Tony, learning the ins and outs of his game, how do you like this matchup stylistically?
I love it. I freaking love this matchup, man. Only because, like I said, my last 2 fights have been cut from the same cloth. I fought Jimmy Flick, who's a black belt in jiu-jitsu, who was a state champion wrestler. I believe he wrestled in Oklahoma, and we got the knockout with some elbows, And then I fought Nick Mamalis, who I believe he's from the Midwest somewhere. He was a standout wrestler, man, and he did get the takedown, unfortunately, and we got the submission. So with Tony Gravely, like I said, I'm not taking anything from the guy, man. He's awesome. He's a good fighter. He's fought some tough guys, but there's definitely some holes that we're looking to expose on August 13th, So, like I said, not taking anything away from him. He's tough. I just feel like we're better everywhere to fight. If he wants to stand on the feet, then I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to getting a knockout. And if he wants to play jiu-jitsu on the mat, then I'm completely comfortable on the ground as well. I have, I think, 8 submissions on my. I think it's 8 on my record, So I'm comfortable wherever the fight goes, I feel like the only way Tony Gravely wins the fight is if he's able to hold me down for 15 minutes, And I've trained extensively with amazing black belts and good wrestlers to mitigate the chances of that.
Are you still in San Antonio?
Yeah, I'm here, man. I have my own academy here on the south side of San Antonio called Ultimate Submission Academy. And I'm training at Ohana Academy as well. So I kind of go back and forth between the two.
So are you training with? I know Alex Hernandez was a little banged up. He had some dealings with his shoulder. Is he one of the guys that's helping you get ready for this one, at least from a mental perspective?
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny that you say that, man. So I was talking about in camp, you usually go through peaks and valleys. Like, you're never just going to be kicking ass all the time, right? So there was one week where I was having a hard time, right? Like, I just didn't do good on the training session, and I'm definitely my own worst critic. Like, I really am. If I have a bad day, I don't sleep at night, and it just kind of ruins like my vibe for the day or the next couple days. Anyway, I had a bad sparring day, and the next day he reached out to me, man, and he just kind of assured me. He's like, man, it happens, and sometimes we have bad days, and that's how we learn from your mistakes or whatever. And after that, man, I had 2 more weeks of training, and my training sessions were my best sparring sessions. So that's why I say that I'm peaking at the right time. But yeah, Alex had been there. He's been one of my main training partners on cage wrestling, and mentally he reached out to me. It was pretty cool, man. I actually had a speech with my school about it, how it's important to reach out to members of your team and check up on them or whatever. So yeah, I've been working with him. I've been working with Justin Governal, who's a 10-fight pro veteran, Devin Cohen's a 10-fight pro veteran, Patrick Ferguson, who's a young, hungry up-and-comer, and just a lot of guys, man. So I'm excited. Like I said, Alex has been a big part of my camp, but a lot of these hungry up-and-comers have been kicking my ass every day too. So
yeah, it's good to have a little mixed bag of all of that stuff. Did you go to the UFC card in San Antonio?
Yeah, absolutely, man. I actually have a good friend of mine who's actually a sponsor of mine. He had a box there at the AT&T Center, so he invited me and my wife, man, and we went to go check it out, and it was amazing, man. It was good to see Alex perform. It's good to see him perform in San Antonio, where he's loved, you know. So it was an amazing event, and it definitely put fuel in my fire to come get this win in August.
I was just gonna say I was gonna wonder if that fired you up even more. You know, seeing the fights, seeing Alex get the hometown, the pop that he got, knowing that you had this opportunity a few weeks down the road. I'm sure that fueled you up a little bit.
Oh, for sure, man. It was insane. Whenever Alex came out, it was just like the loudest thing I've ever heard in my life. Just screams, and oh man, I can't wait to feel that, you know. And I know that I have to get through Tony Gravely to do so, man. And that's what I'm gonna do, man. Like I said, we're gonna get through Tony Gravely, get this UFC contract, and pray for them to come back to San Antonio, man, so I can get that same feel.
You strike me as a visualization kind of a guy. You know, the good days, they stick out in your mind. The bad days, they obviously, like you said, they stick out in your mind a little bit more. When you visualize this fight playing out, knowing what you've gone through to get to this point, doing the research on Tony, how do you see this all playing out? A great matchup. How do you get your hand raised?
I think it could come in a number of ways. You know, like I said, if he stands up with me, he's going to be in a tough spot. You know, I've been training with some of the best guys in the world for a long time. And if it stays on the feet, then we get the knockout. And if it gets to the ground, then I'll get the submission, you know. Like, I'm completely content wherever the fight goes. If he wants to wrestle for 15 minutes, I'm ready to do that too, you know. Like, I've trained hard. I've really trained hard for this camp. And I think the lows that I was talking to you about that I've had in camp have been the most beneficial to me. You know, I've had camps where I'm just kind of kicking ass all camp, and I'm doing really good during sparring, and I really don't learn from them. The fact that I've had my lows during this camp have allowed me to learn a substantial amount about myself, and the fact that I am stopping high-level wrestlers from taking me down. And if it does get to the ground, I'm submitting black belts and doing good on the feet with high-level kickboxers, you know. So, yeah, man, however the fight goes, wherever it happens to play out, I'm ready for it. What's up, my man?
You did it again, huh? With the chocolate over your face? Oh,
yes.
Man, look at you.
I want some chocolate in
Say
my
hi,
life,
Ray.
right?
Hi, Ray.
Hi, buddy. How are you?
He asked you how you're doing.
Good.
He had a moment yesterday because I was talking to Alexa Kammer, who just got a contract on the Contender Series last week, and he just snuck on the interview and started jumping on the trampoline, kind of like he's doing right now. So he thinks he's a big superstar at this point.
It adds flair to it. I'm all about it, man.
This is a question I like to ask all the Contender Series guys that come on just before they fight, because just like when you ask somebody how they get into the sport, the story is always different. There's always a different motivation. And getting into the UFC, it provides a platform that can be used in a number of different ways. It means a lot to different people in different ways. So if all goes well, next Tuesday, Dana White talks about how great your performance was. This guy's a killer. He's in. Welcome to the UFC. What will that mean to you? Get out of here.
It means everything, man. Like I said, it'll definitely change my life. I have 3 kids of my own, man, so it'll allow them opportunities to, I don't know, to just live a more comfortable life. You know what I mean? So,
Stop.
it's okay. Oh man, I have 3 of my own, so I completely understand. Yeah, man, it means everything to me, and it also means that the 12 years of hard work that I've put into my craft are paying off, you know, and I want to show that to my kids that things aren't always going to be easy. There was a point in my career where I was 5-4, you know, and I kept it up, and I stayed resilient, and I want to show them that it pays off, man, that not everything in life is easy, but if you keep at it, man, it'll definitely pay off, man. So that's one thing that I want to showcase, man, August 13th, that you got to be resilient in hard times, man. Hard times are going to come. It's inevitable. You just got to stay strong, hold the course, man, and keep on pushing through.
I have one more kind of goofy question before I let you go, because doing my research, I'm sure you've been asked about this a million times, but I think it was in 2013, you fought another Ray Rodriguez for Legacy. You know, same spelling of the names and everything. Like, was that just a weird fight week for you, knowing that Ray Rodriguez versus Ray Rodriguez in the same card, or was it just like another day for you?
It was another day, man. Like, I actually knew the guy. We've trained together and stuff, so it was kind of cool. I don't know if it was like the first time in history that happened, but being in San Antonio, Texas, brother, let me tell you, there's about 1 million Ray Rodriguez's. So it wasn't too like far fetched, or it wasn't anything that was like I could see it coming. If there was a Martin Martinez against a Martin Martinez in San Antonio, like you could kind of see that happening. So it was inevitable. I knew I was gonna fight him too. Like we were kind of in the same weight class. Kind of look similar, bald-headed guys with tattoos with good stand-up. So I kind of knew it was going to happen.
That's crazy.
It sure is. Is that chocolate on your face, buddy? What were you eating? A Reese's peanut butter cup?
What's the chocolate come from?
From my meal.
From your meal?
Yeah.
A chocolate meal? I didn't give you chocolate. So there you go. Is that from the ice cream you had?
Yeah.
All right.
Oh, I'm jealous.
Yeah,
I'm jealous.
That's some ice cream after camp. I can't wait for you to go back to daycare, buddy.
Yeah.
Next week's going to be a great week for me. Judge Rodriguez taking on Tony Gravely next Tuesday night on Dana White's Contender Series. Ray, man, thank you for the time. Before I let you go, let the folks know where they can follow along on this journey with you via social media. Any shout-outs, anything else you want to get off your chest, the floor is yours.
Guys, just thank all of my friends, fans, and family so much support. Thank you so much for always having my back, guys. All of my sponsors, thank you guys, man. I couldn't do what I do without you guys. If you guys want to follow me on social media, you can find me at Ray the Judge on all platforms, guys. So give me a follow. I'll give you a follow back. And I'm looking forward to it, man. I'm coming home with this contract. There's no doubt in my mind. I'm definitely coming home with this contract, and we'll be looking to get in the UFC top 10 rankings pretty soon. So I'm excited about it, brother.
My opinion, the fight of the season happening next week. Tony Gravely versus Ray Rodriguez. Can't wait to watch it, man. All the best to you in Vegas and in the fight next Tuesday night. I appreciate the time and appreciate your patience with the little guy here.
Thank you so much. Nice to meet you, buddy. Hopefully you watch the fight, man.
All right, man. Say bye to Ray.
Bye, Ray.
Bye, buddy. We'll see y'all later.
Thanks, man. Take care.
Thank you, brother.